What's your vision of the future?
My vision for the very near future is not a very idealistic vision, actually. It's just that people start to get madder.
Third Wave gives us an opportunity to see ourselves and recognize that we are the leaders that we've been waiting for.
That's the beauty of Third Wave, is being able to say, what does this work look like when it's about us, when it's by and for us?
I think that Third Wave has a nimbleness to it. In the beginning, it was young women activists. Now the conversation around gender equity has grown to be so much more intersectional.
Seeing the connections between what's happening in Chicago, what's happening in Delaware, what's happening in Maryland, what's happening in the Southwest. Seeing those connections, that's why I stick with Third Wave.
Third Wave thinks about funding in a very radical way. If a community is in crisis and needs funding right away, they can call Third Wave and talk through it. You don't see that in other institutions.
It was the fall of 1991 and the spring of 1992, and the Senate Judiciary Committee was grilling Anita Hill. The 1992 election was percolating, and one of the biggest issues was around reproductive justice. And then finally for me, there was the Rodney King verdict. I came together with a group of friends and said, what can we do? So we sat there over a weekend in early May, and we plotted what became Freedom Summer 92. We set it on buses 3 months later and did a cross-country voter registration drive. And out of that, many people wrote in and said, I'm with you, I want to join you. And so what they wanted to join was what became Third Wave.
We started out with a mission to be real with each other. We were growing the vision, and the vision was growing us.
The resources that are available for social justice work don't just exist, they were forced to exist. It was people coming together and demanding the existence of those funds. We were founded from people who said, hell no, we're not waiting. This is our time and we're gonna do this. It's too important to wait.
Those most impacted should be the ones creating solutions and being supported to do that. And Third Wave created this approach where it centered people that were typically dismissed, young people.
Younger leaders in social justice movements don't get the proper platforms and the proper respect to give voice to the issues that affect them.
Another big value of Third Wave is sort of flexible funding models so that you really can respond to an emergency.
In really scary political moments, I know that whatever anybody else is doing, that Third Wave is going to be responsive to the needs and calls of activists in those moments.
When I first met Third Wave, I thought of myself as being a feminist, and I was still thinking about what that really meant.
When Third Wave was formed, there was only 4% of philanthropic resources reaching women and girls. And today, there's only 7%. Women of color getting such a small percentage of that funding.
Third Wave brings together a really deep feminist analysis with a really contemporary understanding of gender justice.
Feminism that is not trans inclusive is not feminism.
Being very awakened by feminism in the 60s, I think it was a very narrow definition.
It's really inspiring and to work with an organization that's also growing and including more folks in the conversation about what it means for gender equity.
Funders that, work with women and don't involve trans folks on it. I would say that you're being pretty ridiculous, and they suck.
We cannot do the work of social justice unless we struggle together. That process has been harrowing at times, and at the 20-year mark, gives a real sense of the depth of commitment that people have to this organization.
Being part of Third Wave is exciting, both because of how politically necessary the organization is, but also because of what a family Third Wave is.
Third wave leaders are people who have always been looked over. They're people who are shining in ways that are not always seen, where the world isn't always receptive to their light, but they're shining anyway.
The movement towards liberation requires both the challenging of structures and institutions, but also requires us to be deeply in love with each other and to move forward and together and to work incredibly hard and to sit in really long meetings in love.
When we are in places where we choose not to look for support, it is important for us to know that even if we don't want it, it still is there. But when you make that decision to reach out and it's nothing, it's no hand out there waiting for you, that is devastating. Everybody that reach out with a hand should be able to find it. It's life-changing. So I appreciate the work that is done because it creates hands. And sooner or later, somebody is gonna try to grab it, and we have to be there.
Third Wave is a national, one of my,
One word that I would use to describe Third Wave. Ooh. What are other words that people have said?
Tenacious, powerful,
Dynamic.
Oh.
Deeply loving. Those are more than one word.
visionary,
Bountiful. Bountiful.
Scrappy.
Okay, I got it. The one word that I would use to describe Third Wave is community-centered.
The one word I would use to describe Third Wave is a mix.